afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Topic Time with Harrison Young. We are less than a week before Memorial Day. The weather's out. The weather outside is incredible. I have another Zoom show tonight. We're going to the North Shore, north of Boston. Some Zoom shows go all over the country and the world. Today, we're just traveling to the lovely town of Marblehead, Massachusetts. I'm interviewing a gentleman who was does construction. He constructs boats. He's a contractor, I think, with other things too. We're going to talk all about that. We're going to find out all about him. He seemed interesting, so I invited him on as a guest. But per usual, before we start, got to read these incredible underwriters, and then we will commence. So, don't have a lot, but they're all great. So we read them off. So we got a new one: Bulldog Sports Cards in Middleborough, like sports cards, baseball, football, basketball, etc. We got La Bamba Tacos and Teal, Mexican restaurant in Plymouth. We got South Shore Market in Pembroke. We got New England Floorscapes in Middleborough. We got the Hanover House of Pizza in Hanover. They make great pizza, great Greek salads, and have awesome people working there. We got Genuine's Inspection in Middleborough. We got Salon Giovanni in Marshfield. We got Pembroke Radiator in Pembroke. We got Rodney's Kitchen in Halifax. We got Kingston Auto Body in Kingston. We got the Gun Runner LLC, the Second Amendment Freedom Store in Middleborough. We got good old Dave's Automotive right here on Route 58 up the road in Hanson. And we got DNS Auto Works and Collision Specialists in Abington. I want to thank you guys very much. And now on that note, I'll officially introduce Mr. John Nestor. And like I said, he's a constructive guy. He builds boats, or he did. He's got an interesting history. So, John, tell me about first of all, I have to say, I noticed on your itinerary that you began your life in Lynn, the city of sin, but now you're living in Marblehead, the luxury bed. So tell me about that. That looks like you made a nice transition for yourself. Is that true?
Well, more or less. I mean, Lynn is, they call it the city of sin, but it's a great place to live and spend some time there. And I grew up in English and moved over to Marblehead when my kids were young, and brought them up in the Marblehead school system. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I mean, you don't look too old. I figure they couldn't be too old now, or I'm
pretty old. I'm 70 years old.
Wow. No kidding. Well,
how old are you, Harrison?
I'm 63 and a half.
63. See, so you look good too.
I tried. Oh yeah. No, I mean, I think I got to tell you, 70 is the new 40, or maybe even the new 35.
I don't know. You just gotta keep moving. I
know. I keep moving every day. I feel like I can live to 150, possibly.
Live to 150?
Possibly. I mean, well, you know how it is in life. Life is funny like that. I mean, I've had health issues too. I've had many brushes with death, but what happens is when you get through them, you look back and it's like they never happened. It's really crazy. Life is like that. And now I don't. I used to take a bunch of meds for asthma. I had pneumonia once. I had my heartbeat was screwed up because of the meds I was taking. Now I don't take any meds for asthma. I feel pretty good. And now I'm doing the show, and I'll probably be doing it. If the last show if I die at the age of 150, I hope I'm doing a Topic Time show and give a peace out at the end like that.
If you died at 150, you'd be pretty famous.
I know. I agree.
This guy has lived to what, 120 or something like that, or?
Yeah, I think so. I saw. I was reading. Somebody's like I had a great aunt that lived to be 105, so we got some longevity in the family. I had a great aunt that lived to be 99, and I had a great uncle that lived to be 99. So
see, I think with modern medicine, people are going to live longer.
Oh, definitely, they're going to live longer.
Yeah, there's going to be
It isn't just that. People take better care of themselves.
Yeah.
And that's the great. See, the body is the natural healer. So if you take care of it, it'll take care of you. That's what I'm saying. I haven't used meds in years. I have meds in my house just in case. I popped an ibuprofen. I work out every day. Sometimes my joints I get a little arthritis, not debilitating. If my arm was sore one day about 3 weeks ago, so I popped an ibuprofen and it went away, and that was it. I have a little Pepto if I have, I haven't even used it, but if I get a little, if I feel a little nauseous, or if my stomach pain, I'll just pop some Pepto. I haven't had, I love having medicines in my house that I'll never need until they expire, and then I buy more for when I hope I'll never need them again. But it's just good to have them, and just in case.
You get into your 60s and 70s, and you always have conversations like this.
Yeah, but these are good conversations.
You always talk about your health, and you sit around and what ails you, and what works and what doesn't work, and it's funny.
It is. It's true, but I like it though. I like the fact that I'm able to do it, and I'm then I'm free to come and go as I please, just like more so than ever, I'd say now.
I take an aspirin every day.
Okay.
I drink apple cider vinegar every day.
Is that for health reasons, or do you just like the taste of it?
Both. Both.
Okay,
Yeah, mix it with cranberry juice. That's why I have
okay.
a refrigerator here. Yep.
What does it clean out your system, I guess? It's supposed to be an
Um,
introduction.
it makes you pretty damn regular.
Oh, good. Oh, that's all. I don't have any problem with that. I'm great at that. That's the one thing but I'm a vegan too. I don't eat any meat. That's,
Oh, I don't know. Yeah,
veget-
I don't know. I mean, you got pointy teeth in your mouth, so you're supposed to eat meat. The apes all eat meat.
you know, I mean, I've never, I used to be a heavy, as a young guy and a kid, I was heavy. I ate a lot of cheeseburgers. I lost, when I stopped eating meat in 1982, I went from being, I lost 10 inches or so on my waistline. I gained muscle tissue and I never looked back. I've been that way ever since. And I'm so glad. And I'm glad. I don't think you don't really need to eat meat. I just prefer not to eat it. That's all. And I always feel bad for animals being treated the way I always did feel bad for them. But if you really needed meat to survive, I'd be long gone because except for maybe one time when I was talking about this, I went to China in 1998 and they may have slipped me a little pork without me knowing it because I didn't speak Chinese at the restaurants we were going to. And one time I might have taken a supplement that had a little fish oil in it and I stopped. Other than that, I haven't consumed any meat in 41 years. On July, it'll be 41 years on
Is
July.
that like for a philosophical reason or?
Well, part of it, I mean, well, in 1982, I was living with my grandfather, and he was 78 at the time, and he had a heart attack and got sick. He lived a couple more years, and I thought to myself, well, he was working every day, but his diet was terrible. He ate a lot of buttery stuff. He had lobster doused with butter every night. He ate a lot of meat, and I thought maybe I could change my diet now. And my mother was into doing the Pritikin thing, which was a dietary philosophy too at the time. Pritikin was a dietitian. I don't know if you knew.
Yeah, I remember that name.
Yeah, he was from Pennsylvania. So my mother took my grandfather down to Pennsylvania for a couple of weeks. And in the meantime, I changed my diet completely. And then when I did that, like I said, I went from like lost weight, gained muscle tissue, and I've never looked back.
Well, you must watch the Joe Rogan podcast, right? You watch Joe Rogan?
I've had people on my show that he's interviewed.
Is that you interviewed him?
No, I didn't interview him. I've had people on my show that he's interviewed though.
Oh, because like Jordan Peterson there, he's on there a lot. The psychologist from Canada, very controversial guy. He only eats beef. You must have run into Jordan Peterson. You must have seen him on Rogan.
Who? Jordan Pierce?
Jordan Peterson.
No, I don't watch all the Rogan shows. I've seen the show. I think he's probably the most successful podcaster in the world right now, for sure. With all the views he gets.
Well, you probably make money like he does, right?
No. Someday, hopefully, I'm working toward that goal, but not quite that well. But
he had that Spotify score, and they paid him like $100 million or something like that.
Oh, I know. I'd love to get a contract with Spotify. Yeah. Listen, a lot of people do see my show, and last year I was profiled by these podcasters in New York, and I've never gotten more because I had a guy on the show from Rhode Island who loves the show, and he works at Channel 12 in Providence. He even got me a TV commercial down there. It was to get the deal. It was amazing. It was fun. It was funny as hell. A lot of people cracked a lot of people up. They were watching it during the NFL playoffs in Rhode Island, and I got a lot of calls from people that knew me down there and said, "We saw you on TV. You're very good." Yeah, unfortunately, he hasn't gotten me anymore, but he also got me this podcast profile in New York, and I got like thousands of new followers because of it. And I got the interview, kind of like the ringleader. These guys, there were three of them that do this thing called, what are these podcasts? And they profile podcasts from all over the place. And I got, the Topic Time was one that, because of him, he sent them clips of my shows and they watched them. And one day I was just opening YouTube to look for one of my more recent shows, and that came up. And I said, "What's this?" And then when the guys were talking about who sent them the clips, then I realized, wow, I'm in the big time. So every year, every day, I've been doing the show for 13 years, and it seems like the more I do it, the more good things happen. But they don't happen right away. They sort of evolve slowly. But I didn't see that coming. A year ago at this time, I never would have believed I'd have been podcast profiled. But podcast profile. That's what it was.
A tongue twister, yeah.
It's a tongue twister, but it gets a lot of people that want to do the show now from all over the country that are contacting me because of it. So it's a win-win for all of us. It's great.
Yeah. Who was that guy? He used to be on TV with Robin Young there.
Steve Kiley. You're talking about Marcus Welby?
No, Robin Young.
Robin Young. I know Barry Nolan.
Barry Nolan. Yeah. He was just on your show a little while
Yes, he
ago.
was. He
Yeah.
was great. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had him on, right? He did it at this location too, back on April 10th. I think it was April 5th we did it. So just a little, like about 6 weeks ago. It seems like less time, but that was, yeah, he was a great get. He was a great person to get because, his history in media, he had quite a story to tell. I guess you watched that interview.
Well, he used to comment on my Facebook stuff, and he said he was going to be on your show and everything. But then, yeah,
and he was. And if you watched it, you did watch the interview, right?
No, I never ended up watching his interview, but he was talking about being on your show.
Oh, I know. He did a great plug, like everybody. I was going to have you do a plug, but believe it or not, you were a cancer. I got you in as a fill-in for a woman that was going to be on, a model. And by the time, and she had already done a plug, so I figured to have you do a plug, it would be kind of counterproductive because since she had already done it, people were expecting to see her on. Now I'm going to try to reschedule it for next week.
No, you don't want to mix me up with a model either because, it might confuse people. Two real good looking people.
Oh, I know. Yeah, that's right. That's why I didn't have you do a plug.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about you now. Tell me about you. So you grew up in Lynn? Because my grandmother grew up in Salem, so I used to go up there all the time with her.
Yeah, I grew up in Lynn.
Okay.
I went to Lynn English High School.
Okay.
I came out of college and I got off the bus one day. I was looking for work in Boston, and I got off the bus at City Hall Square, walked into City Hall Square, and decided that I'd ask the city planner if he'd hire me as a planner.
Okay.
He did. And so
where did you go to college?
Huh?
Where did you go to college?
I went to UMass Amherst.
Party animal. I get it.
Oh, yeah. UMass is a great place. It still is a great place.
Oh, I know.
I haven't been out there for a long time. I was considering staying there, but I don't know. I just thought if I stayed there, it seemed kind of artificial to come back to Lynn. So
the last time I was there was March 2nd, 2013, when I auditioned for a film. And that's like the only time I've ever been out there. And I didn't get the role, but I ain't complaining.
When I was out there, Julius Irving was playing basketball. And I was on the track team, and we used to.
Oh, that's right. He was a student there, wasn't he?
That's right. Right.
Wow.
He was.
Yeah.
He was.
You and Dr. J, the best athletes at UMass Amherst.
He's unbelievable. He was a junior when I was a freshman.
Wow.
We used to sneak through the locker room and see his games and everything. And I thought, well, I wanted to do well there, so I didn't go to every game and everything. I said, well, next year he'll be a senior. I'll hit every game. And of course, he went to the ABA. So that was.
And then he helped beat us in the '83 finals or whatever. Well, in Philly.
He was a crazy good. Even in college at that time, they had a no dunk rule. Think about Dr. J, who invented the dunk. There was a no dunk rule.
Okay, I can't see Dr. J with that, but I could see the late Darryl Dawkins with not doing well with the no dunk rule.
Well, they used to have to go up over the rim and drop the ball in.
I know you couldn't dunk. I remember I used to watch college basketball a lot back in the 70s, and then you couldn't stop the ball. I know because then it's goaltending in college.
And if you dunked it, it was a technical foul.
Yeah, right. I know it was not. You couldn't do it. All right, you became a city planner in Boston. Is that what you did?
No, I became a city planner in Lynn.
Okay.
And then about that time, they had all these community development block grants coming in, and I ended up working as a deputy director for the community development department.
Okay.
And then I did a stint as the executive director of the Lynn Housing Authority.
Okay.
For a couple of years, about 3 years there. And the guy who took my place is Charlie Gator, real good guy. He's been there ever since. So that was, oh man, that was in the early 1980s.
So we're talking over 40 years ago.
Yeah, he's been there ever since. And I get a kick out of when I run into people from Lynn and I tell them that I used to be the housing authority director before Charlie Gator, and they can't even conceptualize that.
Wow, I know. I can imagine. Probably most of them probably weren't even born yet.
True. I know. It feels that way.
Back, it's amazing how time is like that. It sort of just bends in on itself, and then
it flows so incredibly quick. You don't buy into it. You don't understand it until all of a sudden you're here, and it's like, how the hell did I get this old, this fast? But
I know. All right. Well, what did you? Now you're a boat builder and a construction worker too. That's what I was reading your Facebook page like I usually do with everybody that I interview to find out a little about them, and it said that you built boats. You don't anymore, but you have built some. And then what else?
Well, I have boats in construction. I didn't build them for other people. I built them for myself. So I built like see, there used to be a guy named John Gardner.
Okay.
And John Gardner was he actually was born in Maine, but he lived in Lynn, and he kind of took the wooden boat building industry, and he kind of gave it a big boost. And he published a book in the mid 70s about boat building and everything. And his big thing was dories, wooden dories.
Okay.
And stuff like that. And also there was some brothers down in Rhode Island called the Herreshoff brothers. I don't know.
Okay.
For the Herreshoff sailboats and stuff like that. But the right around this area from Maine to Rhode Island was really the hub of these wooden boat building.
Of course, Marblehead. That's probably one of the nicest seaports in New England where you are.
Yeah. So I just got kind of interested in it, and I read books and everything, and I built like a 12-foot tender, and I built a 19-foot double-ended dory and stuff like that, and just for my own use. So I like woodworking, so it was fun.
Yeah. What else? Now, what else do you build? Now, it said you do construction. What else? Anything else besides boats?
Yeah, we do. Like I say, the boats are a hobby for myself.
Right.
We build decks, and we do wood, and we do tile for the most part. So a big thing right now is converting bathrooms for elderly people. They can't get in the tub anymore, so they want to be able to walk right into the shower. So we rip out the tub and we put a shower in there, things like that.
Okay, you're still doing it now, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to slow down. It's amazing, but I'll tell you, you get to a certain age and you can't go for 8 hours a day, and you can't go for 5 days a week. I mean, so you really have to pace yourself and everything. But I've got some good people to help me from time to time. So
okay, well, that's great. But so your kids are adults, I assume now, right? Obviously.
Yeah. I had 3 kids, and I brought them up in Marblehead, and
they went to school there, right?
Yeah, they went to school there, and they all went to school up at St. Michael's College up in Burlington, Vermont.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, so they have a dorm named after me because of all the money I sent up there to St. Michael's College.
That's pretty good. How many years have you been doing like deck construction and like that? How long have you been doing that for?
Well, what happened was, after I was the housing authority guy, I became a developer in the 80s.
Yep.
And I kind of got swept up in some of the bank issues there, where the banks are giving out tons of money for with not a lot of documentation and everything. So I ended up borrowing about $20 million and building all sorts of condos and building all sorts of houses and stuff like that. But then the market crashed.
I remember that.
Yeah, my $20 million was worth about, I had thought that the market value was about 30 million, but it ended up being worth about 15 million.
Wow.
So it was things like the Bank of, at the time it was the Bank of New England. And that started to crash down. When it all started to crash down, it all crumbled and went away. So I ended up getting a job in the telecom business.
What's that?
It was wireless telecom. I worked for a company called NextWave, and we were building the networks, the wireless networks when they're first coming out. And then I ended up with General Dynamics doing the same thing for about 10 years. And
General Dynamics, they build a lot of stuff, right?
They are one of the 5 big defense contractors. And they're very involved in all sorts of boat building things, and they built the Abrams tanks, and just an amazing company. Amazing.
So for the military.
Yeah, this is for the military, but they also had a commercial division. So I worked in the commercial division, and we built networks for them, for like AT&T and Sprint and Nextel and things like that. So
what did you learn? Now, did you learn all these skills that you amassed? Did you develop them yourself? Did you have any kind of tutoring along the way? Any kind of training in terms of, for building, or just read books, or what? How did that go? How did that work?
I pretty much, my father built a camp up in New Hampshire that I watched him do it. My father was a good woodworker. He was a fireman, but he was a good woodworker.
Yep.
And I kind of picked up by what I can pick things up by watching people. And then right now, I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, I picked up a lot by reading books, but But right now, I mean, anything you want to do, you just dial up YouTube and boom, there it is. And I basically can learn how to do stuff by watching other people doing it. So that's a great resource for me.
Oh, absolutely is. So obviously, if you're pretty intelligent, you must be quite intelligent in order to do that. Because I mean, if it's obviously you watch people's manual dexterity and
I'm not just good looking. I'm smart.
You're smart too. Yeah, I got it. Good. I know. I picked great guests. There's no question about it. So you're planning on eventually you want to move to Maine. Why do you want to leave Marblehead to move to Maine, and how far up do you want to go? When you say
I've got a condo up in New Hampshire, and I was thinking of doing is so the good part about living in a place like Marblehead is if you bought a house back when the equity has really grown.
Yep.
And right now I was just looking at the value of houses here right now, and they're so high, and I thought maybe I cash in my equity and buy a little homestead up in Maine, and I could live there with no mortgage and all the rest of it, and raise chickens and cows and die. But
your mortgage is already, isn't your mortgage paid off in your house that you live in now?
No. I mean, what happened with me is I just kept getting involved in real estate deals back and forth, and some things worked and some things didn't work. So, and then I ended up putting kids through college, and then I ended up fielding all sorts of legal things, and so it hasn't been smooth to this point, and but take the lumps where they come.
I understand. No, I noticed too on Facebook that you like doing creative writing. Tell me about that, because I'm a writer by trade too, or I was at the beginning.
Well,
what do you like to write?
I used to like to blog all the time.
Okay.
I've got a blog called the Nanopashmit blog, and Nanopashmit's the name of my company. And I just used to like to blog, and I was a political science major at UMass, so I like to talk politics and everything, and which is a kind of a pain because you end up pissing off a lot of people.
Oh, I know. That's why I welcome anyone to express their opinion on my show, but I always respect it. But I try to remain as neutral as possible, because these days it's true. If you piss off a lot of people by expressing an appreciation for one side when the other side is so hostile, and I don't even do that.
I've always prided myself on being able to talk to somebody and respect the different.
Of course, I get that you are good at that,
but that's not the case now. I would say I'm more on the conservative side, and I would say most of my liberal friends have defriended me on Facebook and everything. There's just no tolerance for somebody who thinks differently.
Yeah. Well, I would never do that, but that's true. It is the world in which we live. It has become the world in which we live. That's why with my show, I'm trying to bring back the days when the American people could have one opinion, could have different opinions, and agree to disagree and be respectful of each other's opinions.
I tell you, I don't understand it. I mean, I grew up in Lynn.
Yeah.
And I grew up with black kids in my neighborhood and Latino kids in my neighborhood, and it was never any big deal about it and everything. I mean, we saw what differences there were. I didn't think one way for any particular reason because I was a white Irish kid. It just seemed there was a lot of tolerance, but that's all gone away. People are so sensitive now. It's just too bad.
Well, I know that's true. Well, I mean, I just had a new family move into my neighborhood, and they seem nice enough. I think there were some Afro-Americans in the family. I think it's a mix. I'm not really sure. The one thing about my neighborhood where I live, it's an affluent neighborhood. People are okay there. We don't really talk to each other too much, though. That's just the way it is. I don't think there's any dissension, but I can read. One of the guys that lives across the street from me was our former mayor, and he's also a ward council. I live in Brockton, by the way. I don't know if you know much about Brockton or what you've ever.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, so he posted something on Facebook. Somebody in the town of Holbrook, which is next to Brockton, some politician is a very hostile perpetrator of unkind words or something, and he posted that. And I read his posts sometimes because he knows a lot of stuff. And I'm not Facebook friends with him, but I am curious I figure if he posts something, it's got to be interesting and important that, to take note of. And I read our local paper, and I just try to keep up with what's going on. But I try to be as tolerant with everybody, as long as they, respect me and respect my space and boundaries. I'll respect their space and boundaries.
You can't. You show a certain circumstance to somebody, and they draw their own conclusions about it. You can't say why people, conclude one thing or the other thing. But I don't see why people get condemned about it, but they do. So it's really sad. I kind of, like I say, I'm 70, so I'm on the back nine. And I was kind of hoping that things would be better as I was kind of, sailing into the sunset. But
well, you got to make you got to do your own. You got to just do it. If you got to live your own life, and anything you do, any positive contribution you make is going to make it better. And that you can only do so much. You can only do what you can do. You can't control others. So you got to do it yourself, and you got to inspire others through your own actions. I'd say that's the way to go.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I mean, some of my best friends, like I say, I'm more on the conservative side, but some of my best friends have been liberals. And especially when I worked for General Dynamics, where I was a business director and I had a bunch of people working under me and everything. And well, we never talked politics. We're too busy to talk politics. And later on, I'd be shocked that they thought one way and the other for a different political candidate. But that didn't change the way I felt about them personally.
So. Of course. All right, listen, we're under 5 minutes now. I hope you had fun talking to me. I think we had a pretty lively discussion. And as often happens on Topic Time, you never know where the discussion is going to go. And I think we covered some interesting stuff that I never even thought we'd cover. Just the philosophy of health and all that stuff. So what I want you to do, if it's okay, just look at your camera real quick and give shouts out to a few people that are going to see the show, and then we'll wrap it up like we began it with my music.
Yeah, no, I didn't think much about shouting out. I don't know who's going to see the show.
Plenty of people will see it. Once we get it up online, I guarantee you. And people in these three towns, Carver, Plimpton, and Halifax down here are going to watch it too. So plenty of people are going to.
All right. Well, get on my Ned and Passionate blog, and I'll talk to you then. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Well, I hope you had fun with me.
I sure did.
All right. Yeah. So here's the thing. If you have any friends that are interesting for whatever reasons, send them my way. You got my digits now. Have them text me. We'll get them on the show either by Zoom or in person. I get more guests from word of mouth now than ever before. And
well, you got to remember me when you get that big Spotify contract.
Oh, you kidding me? I'm going to have you build me a limo. All right. I'm going to ask you one favor. When we wrap the show up, will you stick around and take a couple of pics for Facebook? My tech guy will do them, and then I'll say that you were on the show with me, and then people will know.
All right. A lot of people. Yeah, no problem.
Okay. All right. Thanks, John. Great job. Okay, folks, we're going to wrap it up now. See you next time with a brand new episode of Topic Time, and the final day of May.